All right, you guys, welcome back to the Daily Show. And apologies for the slight delay. I had a couple things I had to take care of this morning, but I appreciate that you guys all showed up. And it's time to get right back into it. Now, there's a lot of mixed feelings about the ruling to overturn Roe v. Wade as we all wait for the other shoe to drop. So I wanted to take a little bit more time today to talk a little bit more about that. Welcome, everybody. So, a lot of people are asking the question, is the ruling good or is it bad? And what does the future hold? Well, many of us feel like this is a setup for something bigger that is coming down the line. And I tend to agree with that sentiment. We know that the Supreme Court is still part of the beast. They're not doing this out of the kindness of their heart or some kind of benevolence or some kind of positive outcome. Now, of course, we knew that the country would be divided on this, but in my opinion, what better thing to be divided on than life? If I had to pick an issue, this would be the one that I would pick. Now, I want to talk a little bit about morality versus legality, because legality, in my opinion, gives people a false sense of morality, doesn't it? Most people think if something is legal, then it's moral. But we know that this is not the case. So at the least, we have to realize that the federal ruling is a strong deterrent to irresponsible pregnancy termination. Now, we all know that the liberals are going to counter this by killing as many as they can. But in all honesty, most people in America are right-leaning. We outnumber them, you guys. And in the end, I truly believe that less babies will die because of this. Now, we did a video back in 2013, probably 2014, about these cells. These are cells that are actually left behind inside of a mother when she's carried a fetus for even just a few weeks even. These cells start to develop. They are immune cells that stay with the mother for life. Now, they call it microchimerism because they want it to be a negative thing that somebody else's cells are infecting your body, right? But how beautiful of a thing is this, that when you carry a child, part of that child is left inside of your body. Now, when we did that video, we postulated that because a mother carries part of that child with her, even if it's only within weeks or months, that maybe this is the reason for the strong emotional reaction and lingering depression after that life is then removed from the womb. Let's read about microchimerism. Now, YouTube did not like this video when we uploaded this, but this is the truth. Small number of cells originate from another individual are therefore genetically distinct from the cells of the host individual. The phenomenon may be related to certain types of autoimmune diseases. However, the mechanisms responsible for this relationship are unclear. The term comes from the prefix micro and chimerism. It says, during pregnancy, a two-way traffic of immune cells may occur through the placenta. Exchanged cells can multiply and establish long-lasting cell lines that are immunologically active even decades after birth. So there's a part of the child left behind. Now, obviously, this probably is dependent on how long the child was carried and these things. I don't know if weeks or months into the pregnancy, if this is established yet, to what degree. Doesn't really say in here specifically, but it says here, fetal cells have been documented to persist and multiply in the mother for several decades. The exact phenotype of these cells is unknown, although several different cell types have been identified. Fetal-maternal microchimerism occurs during pregnancy and shortly after giving birth for most women. However, not all women who have had children contain fetal cells. So this is some kind of bonding agent, in my opinion. This is why a mother bonds with the child after birth. I wonder if women who have depression after birth maybe don't have these cells. I mean, these are just questions, of course. It says 50 to 75% of women carry fetal immune cell lines. The immune cells are also found in the offspring, yielding in maternal fetal microchimerism, though this phenomenon is about half as frequent as the former. Microchimerism, now get this, has been shown to exist with blood transfusions to a severely immunocompromised population of patients who suffer trauma. So when you get a blood transfusion, you could have these chimeric cells inside of you for life. This is interesting. Now, in further breaking this down, my experience has been with women that I have known that have made the decision to do this, they carry this with them for the rest of their life. Some remember the child's birthday. Many seek therapy or mask the feelings with substances or self-punishment for what they feel they did with bad relationships and things like this. And you have to ask yourself why. Are these chimeric cells part of why the mother feels so connected to this child? Now, they don't tell you any of this when you go in to get this done. They don't counsel you and say, hey, look, you could get depressed after this. This could be really hard for you. You could never forget that you did this. I think if they had a discussion, then people wouldn't be doing it as often as they did. So in my opinion, it's a victory that in states where this is banned, our children won't have to experience this because they won't be going behind our backs and doing the unthinkable because of television programming. So, politics aside, this is a huge victory in terms of emotional and spiritual health. Now, again, I fully understand that the Supreme Court is run by the beast, and they will use this ruling to further manipulate us into the one world order. But life is life, and we have to be happy about that. Now, of course, America has a dark spiritual cloud over it because I feel like America has turned away from God a very long time ago. And so now we're going to talk about the tip of the spear. Now, this is amazing because we talked about the tip of the spear and the injections and comparing it to that. And now we're going to see how all this plays into it because we were hot on the trail of the piece of an umbrella and the piece of a hypodermic needle called the Ferrule. You can see the spelling here. This is out of the British Museum. And one of you found this. Now, I was shocked. Had we dug a little bit deeper, we would have found this earlier. But the ferrule is actually the tip of the spear. It's called the ferrule. As you can see here, these are some ancient artifacts called ferrules, and they are made out of copper. Bronze ferrule. Now, this is ancient Rome. So now you know what's really going on. This was always about ancient Rome. This was always about Apollo. Now, we did a video that has since gone viral showing Trump as the tip of the spear here front and center in his military academy photo. That's him right there in a group of 36 people, 36 students. That's 6 times 6, which has become to be known his number. 6 times 6, 66. Because that's the penthouse floor that he named in his building. Did it have something to do with this photo? Did it have something to do with the tip of the spear? Did it have something to do with portals? Men have passed through these portals. Well, that's up to you to decide. But what we found about the tip of the spear is that the spear is this chest, the spear in the chest, the serpent in the chest. Time travel, which is demons hopping host bodies to host bodies. Donnie Darko described it as a arrow or a spear coming out of the chest. And then they depicted that in that film as water pouring out of his chest. Now, to confirm these findings, the media can't stop talking about umbrellas. Here we are in the middle of summer, and stories like this keep breaking, confirming all of our earlier discoveries that the umbrella would become a prominent occult symbol. Umbrellas are syringes, and that has become our life, poking us all over. In this story, about 400,000 outdoor umbrellas sold at Costco recalled for overheating. What? What kind of headline is this? Maker of an umbrella with a built-in solar panel and LED light sold at Costco has recalled about 400,000 of the product because the lithium-ion batteries can overheat and catch fire. Or are you starting to see what's going on here? Electric cars blowing up, electric buses blowing up. The sun god. Solar, electric, and now Apollo's umbrella blowing up in the heat. Sunvia Corp of Chino, California said it has received 6 reports of the battery in the umbrella's black soil panel overheating. These are ticking time bombs. 3 cases of solar panels caught fire while charging via AC adapter indoors. 2 cases of umbrella caught fire when the solar panel puck, while attached, overheated. There was a smoke inhalation injury, and they're recalling all these. Unbelievable. 7-sided pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-sided. The octagon. Wow. So, really weird times we're living in right now, as we're starting to see confirmation of things we've talked about in recent past manifesting in our reality in real time. Now, there's more about the ferrule tip of the umbrella. Because as I said, this has become a prominent occult symbol. And many of you notice that both BLM and Antifa use this umbrella as their symbol. There's a New York Post article, Antifa riots may be part of Democrat power grab. And here they are. Rain or shine. Umbrellas. The symbol of a movement. Now, even as Roe v. Wade has rolled out, Roe being the name of fish eggs, the seed of the woman, right? The seed of the Jesus fish. Even as this has been rolled out, the protesters lead with the ferrule tip of the umbrella. They don't even realize that they're being used, or maybe they do, as demonic occult symbols. Now, this has me concerned because, of course, umbrella are needles, and they just passed this emergency act to allow toddlers to get the smack the nation. As these groups are channeling this ritual using these umbrellas as symbols. Now, something weird happens when you take the word, both words, Antifa and BLM, as I did here in the anagram wordsmith. Punch it in there. And what do you get? Lamb faint, or faint lamb. They want to make the lambs faint. Now, of course, there's all kinds of other words that appear when you take these two words, BLM, Antifa, together and look for anagrams. But the one that jumped out at me the most was the faint lamb. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Now let's read about this umbrella symbol being used by these extreme groups and see what they have to say about what they say it means. See if they disclose anything here. We already know what it means. It's a syringe. But let's take a look here. How umbrellas became the symbol of Seattle protests. This was back in 2020. And as you can see here, those things we never use. They're here now, linking local demonstrations to everything from Hong Kong to Amazon. Real Seattleites don't use umbrellas. It's one of our foundational city myths, alongside the Seattle freeze, bad fashion game, and coffee addiction. But Tuesday night, as thousands of protesters faced police, intense Capitol Hill standoff, the front lines were washing dozens of umbrellas, and not because it was raining. For one, they're a sign that Seattleites marching against police brutality have turned an eye abroad. The bumbershoot tactic has roots in the Hong Kong umbrella movement of 2014, when tens of thousands of protesters demanding open elections used umbrellas to protect themselves from tear gas released by the police. Among the modern protest tactics developed by Hong Kong youth, yellow umbrella became especially symbolic. In Seattle, the iconic umbrella was bright pink, as crowds faced Seattle Police Department at the corner of Cal Anderson Park on Monday. Language and posture had grown tense, and this tear gas was being deployed. And then by Tuesday night, the umbrellas multiplied. So, these people don't even know it, and they're part of a red. Look at all these umbrellas, you guys. Look at all these umbrellas. Now, they call it a sea of umbrellas. They even reference Mary Poppins. Look at this. We just covered this. Spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. That was all about the vaccinations. Mary popping you with a pin. Her umbrella. Unbelievable. So, weird times. Now, speaking of Roe v. Wade, let's see, what was our next thing here? People are bringing up the question of incest and pregnancy. Now, fortunately, this is very rare. It happens about 0.5% of the time, according to this article, which is still too much. But every state is still allowing Plan B. No one has banned it yet. What is Plan B? Now, of course, Plan B is a pill that can be taken to end the pregnancy. And I'm not sure how I feel about Plan B if it's more than 24 hours after the encounter, because it takes about that long for the sperm to even reach the egg. And in the case of rape, a woman can get to a doctor within hours after the incident. So you're really not terminating a pregnancy at that point. But then there's this window, and that's the gray area. After several hours go by, then the life is in the womb. Now there's a whole, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a spectrum or a window of people debate on. Some people believe that something like this should never be used, even if it's 2 hours after something like this. But working in women's health, I realize that it could take 30 minutes for the sperm to even reach the egg, to even begin to fertilize it, because it's a process. And at that point, it could take 6 to 10 days for it to implant into the sidewall. All the time it is dividing into the child once it's fertilized. But before the sperm reaches the egg, it's not dividing, obviously, because the sperm hasn't reached the egg yet. Now, of course, these situations can become very complicated, especially when it comes to incest, because oftentimes pregnancy isn't even realized until the girl is showing. And in my opinion, at that point, it is clear and cut killing a child. You know, it's interesting to me because we live in a society where people use strangers' eggs and sperm, don't they? You go to a sperm bank and people have no problem with that. They have no idea who these people are. It could be a serial killer. They don't know. And they're okay putting those things in their body. I guess it's a choice for them at that point, but I can only imagine the trauma of being pregnant through incest. Like, fortunately, it doesn't happen very often, but for the times it does, it's a very tough family decision. But think of it this way as well. What options do you have without further traumatizing the child who has become impregnated? Because you cover up one sin with another, and now it's double sin, right? So that's what's going on with that. Now, what is going on with the liberal left-wing celebrity base? Well, they're beginning to melt down. Now, of course, us on the right, and when I say us on the right, I'm not talking about politically. I'm talking about morality, right-leaning morality, following Jesus, because Jesus was more right-leaning, because he actually believed there was such a thing as sin and that we shouldn't do it, versus left-leaning doesn't really believe in sin. They believe pretty much everything goes as long as you're not hurting another person. So when I say right-leaning, it's not because I'm jumping back into politics and because I'm going to tell everyone to go vote again. It's because it's my moral framework that I try to go by. But, you know, you see these people on the left, and I'm sure the people on the right are just laughing because this is kind of funny as they begin to melt down and they show their dark side. Pink basically losing it, telling her fans, never effing listen to my music again if you are for... Now, this is going to be funny because these people are going to lose a lot of their fan base. Their record sales are going to drop because they hadn't reared their ugly head yet. And it's one thing for someone to say, I believe in choice. And, you know, they could still get a lot of people from the right to follow them because they like their music and go, oh, that's their politics. All, you know, as long as they're not parading that and telling a bunch of young girls to go out and have this done, I'm okay with that. A lot of people were about that. But when someone comes out with this kind of vitriol and anger because of a choice that was made at the federal level, and they tell people never effing listen to my music again, there's a lot of people on the right, they're going to say, okay, no problem. You weren't that good anyway. And, you know, this is a moral issue now, so I can no longer support you if this is how you really feel. So these people are coming unglued. Unbelievable. Now, who else is coming unglued? Let me check in with you guys, and then we'll look at who else is coming unglued. You guys remember Green Day? Well, he's coming unglued. Let's find that article here. I'll be in the chat with you guys. Good riddance. Green Day's Billy Joe Armstrong. Oh, look at this. Billy Joe Armstrong. His acronym for his name is JAB. So Mr. Jab himself, Joe Armstrong Billy, leaving the U.S. over the ruling. He's actually like done. He's like, I'm leaving. He's no longer having the time of his life in America. Green Day lead singer Jab says he will be leaving the U.S. and moving to the United Kingdom. Told fans of London Stadium, "Oh, I'm not kidding. You're going to be getting a lot of me in the coming days. F America. I'm effing renouncing my citizenship. Just cursing up a storm." Good riddance. Another has-been, used to be relevant. He made a couple good songs that I liked when I was younger, when I was fast asleep, and then he went off the rails. See what he... Now, notice what's happening here. When you can look back at Pink, when she first started, she was kind of innocent, and the only thing that was really kind of off the rails about her was her pink hair. And remember, all the little girls went out and dyed their hair pink because of celebrities like this, following her example. Well, it all started out innocent. Remember, her songs were just kind of like, she was just kind of an angry punk kid, you know, and she would sing about like being slightly, you know, rebellious. And it was kind of innocent in the beginning. And then she went nuts. Some of her newest music videos are just off the rails. That's called the progression of the programming. POP, progression of programming. What they do is they take these artists, they start them out very vanilla-like, test the waters, they'll throw a video out here and there. They get all these people on board, children on board, parents feel safe with it because the person is relatively innocent and kind of fun and kind of different. And then they start doing stuff like wearing black eyeliner, which is what Jab likes to do, Joe Armstrong Billy. And they start going crazy and making all these really dark, satanic, crazy music videos and wearing no clothes and everything else that they do. So, it's funny because Green Day is currently on their mega tour with Weezer and Fall Out Boy. Oh my gosh, these people probably hate me. Hey, I'm just telling the truth. I mean, this is the truth, you guys. You guys all know it. And then what happens is after the programming is complete and your child who grew up with some of these artists has now basically mimicked them and has all their dark posters on their walls and all the evil side of the person, and they've been fully programmed, then you got to try to peel your child back into this reality. And it's creating extra work for parents. And we all know it, but few people want to admit it. But it is the truth. Now let's move on from that, because we need to talk about the bees. The bees have come under attack once again with a brand new parasite emerging for the first time in recorded history. Look at this thing. It looks like a horseshoe crab, a microscopic horseshoe crab, which is interesting because that is a blue-blooded creature, right? This is creepy. Let's take a look at this story and see what's going on here. Biosecurity zone set up after a deadly honeybee parasite detected in New South Wales. Thanks to the subscriber that sent this to me and all the other stories that we covered today. Parasite responsible for the widespread deaths of honeybees around the world has been detected in Australia. The Vero mite, also known as Vero destructor, was spotted in hives at the port of Newcastle by biosecurity surveillance. Or do they have microscopic cameras? The mite is considered the most serious pest for honeybees worldwide. Is currently not found in Australia. So they're trying to contain the outbreak. They've immediately launched an eradication plan, which involves setting up a biosecurity zone. So they're quarantining the bees, right? Stay-at-home orders, probably for in their beehive. They're euthanizing bees. That's what they want to do to us. Australia is the only major honey producing country free from varroa mite. Okay, so this isn't a brand new pathogen. I guess these mites happened, but they were new to Australia. Could cost the honey industry $70 million a year. It looks like a crab. Look at this thing. It's a microscopic crab, of course, blue-blooded. Varroa destructors cling to and feast upon bees. Makes you wonder if this is some kind of bioweapon. Beekeepers within that zone are not allowed to move or tamper with their hives. They're also instructed to contact the department with the location of all of their hives. It's a 50-kilometer radius from the port of Newcastle, extending to Nelson Bay. Ooh, look at that. That is disgusting. They're like little crabs crawling on the pupa of the bees. Unbelievable. So, makes you wonder, right? Now, here's our last story, then I'll be in the chat with you guys. They are setting this thing up, I believe, for Republicans, and namely Trump, to take back over. The AP is now admitting, when in the history of the left have they ever admitted that the Republicans are gaining more voters? I can't remember any time in recent history where they admitted that 1 million voters switched to GOP in warning for the Dems. And this is why I told you, this is why they ran Bo Jiven, because they knew he'd be so terrible that that people would be begging for Thump to come back. And this is what this article basically says, that people are upset with Bo Jiven, they're switching back to Republican, and even embracing Thump. So, I hope I'm wrong. Actually, it doesn't matter who gets elected because they're all part of the overarching plan. But my prediction is that Trump will be elected. Now, I know a lot of people out there are predicting that no, they're going to make Bo Jiven win again, and then they're going to basically really, really upset the right to try to kick off a civil war. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to get reelected. And I think this whole, Roe v. Wade thing was to ignite the left, to at least make it look fair, because they had to counterbalance everything, right? They had to have some left-leaning people show up to the polls. And so everything's divided. You got the left divided within itself. You've got the right divided within itself as everyone's debating this whole Roe v. Wade thing and what it means. So the best thing we could do now is to stick together. Figure out how to stay on the same page when it comes to life. And the rest is just their little chessboard games that they're playing. So, what else do we have here? Redeem says it's a psyop. Yeah, everything's pretty much a psyop, isn't it? It's all psyops. All right. No, do not clean out my junk files. What are you guys' thoughts on all this? Of course, these are just opinions. I don't hold fast to any of this matter-of-factly. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? Calm before the storm, says Janine. Good morning, remote generation. Cloud looks like Trump on the toilet. Pawns in the game. They can stick their stickers. Yeah, they can stick their stickers where the sun don't shine, right? Divide and conquer. Yes. Now, the letter that shall not be named made a comeback when all this broke off. That should tell you everything you need to know right there. More distraction, says Warrior for Truth. Psyop the psyop. Even if one baby's life saved, it's a victory. That's how I feel, Eric. Like I said, in states where it is made illegal, think of all the thousands and millions of Christian parents who now do not have to worry that their child is going to sneak behind their back and go do that. Because let's be honest, the US has made it very easy, haven't they, to go get this done. And if you have a 17-year-old daughter, the last thing you want her to have to go through is what you may have gone through or other women have gone through. I'm telling you guys, everyone I know that has had this done has had to deal with this in their life. Lingering guilt. And until you've gone through this, you don't know what that feels like. And I haven't gone through it, of course, but I've talked to enough people that have. And it destroys them. It destroys them. It's very, very sad. I've even talked to people where they've told me that they've had that done and then were not able to get pregnant again. It was almost like their gift to bear a child was taken from them by God because of the decision that they made. You don't want your child to go through that. So think about all of the spiritual victory that has happened as a result of this in terms of protecting your children and choices they make in a state. And if you're living in a conservative state, hallelujah, because you're not going to have to worry about this happening behind your back. Your child might actually come to you and talk to you about it. And then you'll have a bonding moment. You'll be able to pray about it and make the right decision. And that decision could be a blessing that will bond you for life with your child. Whereas if they go off and do it on their own, which is what's happening now, even in conservative states, because of Roe v. Wade, they had access to that and the privacy to do it. That could create a rift and destroy your child. So these are just some thoughts. I mean, don't blow this stuff off as completely irrelevant, like it doesn't matter, because it actually does. And we need to rejoice in that part of it. Just like Jesus celebrated life. Okay? So those are just some thoughts. Just some thoughts. All right. This will make people be more responsible. Realizing they just can't go and erase choices that they've made. This could be a boost of morality in some of the conservative states. Now, I don't expect that to be the case in the liberal states. Obviously, they're going to go the opposite direction. But if your parents sit down with you and they say, look, you're not going to have a choice when it comes to this if this happens. So this is what you need to do to protect yourself. Now, all of a sudden, it's opening up dialogue with your children that you didn't have before. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that? I set before you this day, life or death, choose life. Absolutely. All right. Believers, there are some believers who claim that it's okay with Yadi to bitter drink ceremony. Yeah, I can't imagine that there would be any circumstances where that would really be okay. So, stay strong in Abba. Absolutely. All right, you guys. Well, I love each and every one of you. The best thing we can do is stick together. You find yourself in some kind of debate with somebody, especially if they're, believers about this stuff. Or if you have channels that are starting to tell you, don't listen to that channel because they say this or that, and they're a channel that believes, try to back away from that. We don't want to allow this to divide us, do we? We need to stick together on this. I love each and every one of you. I hope you guys all have a blessed day. Take care and be safe.